see. Okay, I didn't see. Oh, there it is. Okay, got it. All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to a free form public meeting, meeting on the Audit and Finance Committee. And we have, I'd like to take attendance first, Rebecca.
Sure, Madam Chairwoman. Ms. Willingham?
Present.
Peter?
Right here.
Bergdorf?
Present.
Clay?
Present.
Grimm?
Here.
Ray Joyce? Lukakis?
Here.
Mayo?
Here.
And Brewski is excused tonight. That's 7 present, Mr. Chairman. I'm Madam Chairwoman. I apologize.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. With that said, I'd like to get on with the meeting.
Sure. Item 1 is authorizing an agreement with Motorola Solutions regarding communications equipment for the Sheriff's Office. Chief Deputy Borman is here this evening.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd actually like to introduce our Director of 911, Kevin Demarest. He's on the call with us. This is really right up his wheelhouse, and he has much more knowledge and background with this than I do. Kevin?
Thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. This item came up because Motorola approached us. They're very interested in getting a PO in their hand before the end of September, their third quarter. What that translated to us was a $300,000 discount they offered if they could get that. Because my first answer was, well, no, it's not going to just make through the legislative process. So I brought this to the sheriff's attention, and he brought this to you guys to see if we can get that PO cut. Pam O'Neill in purchasing said if she had permission from you guys to do it, she would then be allowed to do that, thus saving us a total savings of $763,000.
Okay, can you explain what it is?
The APX Next radio system is a next generation radio that combines our LMR, which is our land mobile radio system, our P25 800 megahertz system, with the commercial LTE telephone system. What that translates to is when you're out of coverage from our radio system, the LTE network will pick up the coverage for the first responders, enhancing our radio system. It will extend the radio system out to like our transportation units that drive prisoners downstate into various parts of the state. They'll still have radio communication with us, even though they're outside of the footprint of our LMR system. There's also several other enhancements to the system, GPS tracking in the radio, so we can keep an eye on the people, not just the car, for when they're out of the car. And there's several other technological advancements with this. It'll also increase some of the sheriff's initiatives to school safety, allowing us coverage in building where we typically wouldn't have it on our LMR system. If you're outside of the LMR system and LTE system, Wi-Fi connections are capable as well, which most of the school districts have. So that would enhance coverage in building, which we currently have problems with that now.
So you're saying that if there is a shooter in the building, okay, or someone that has taken some kids hostage or a classroom or whatever, this would be of use?
Yeah, we've deployed several radios already into our schools out that we in our patrol zones. They're I don't know if you remember them, they're panic button radios. So if anyone should hit those panic buttons, it comes right directly to our 911 center via the LMR system. And they're great, but to get the coverage, we had to put, they're like, basically they're like car radios or hardened radios. They're fixed to the parts of the building. We put them in libraries, cafeterias, common areas like that. But to have portables that actually can go with the teacher, the coverage wasn't enough in building. This will eliminate that. This will give us the coverage that we need for the mobile.
In classrooms, Wanda. That's our goal, is to get teachers that are barricaded in a classroom to be able to contact 911, tell them they have an active shooter, they have a medical emergency, or they just have some sort of physical altercation. But we have to enhance our schools. the safety, and this is a key element and a massive savings for the county. We were going to try to budget for it for next year, but when they offered us the third quarter hit, we were like, wow, this would be a huge step and a huge savings.
Well, this couldn't have came at a better time with school going back in, and all of the tragedies, that we have had. This really shows progressive thinking on the part of the Sheriff's Department, and we all really appreciate it too, very much so.
Our goal is to try to get this in the hands of teachers. We may not get there right off the bat with this influx of monies and pieces of equipment, but I mean, look at this we're at a all hands on deck moment. I mean, the city today had 2 shootings, a stabbing, and as I'm talking to you right now, I've got my guys doing a canine search after they had to tase an individual who fled on foot. I mean, it's chaos right now, and I don't see it slowing. And I'd hate to see this blow over into our schools. It's only a matter of time. These young individuals right now are just doing whatever they want for whatever reason. And we need to protect the other kids who aren't partaking in this.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. When you talked about the GPS tracking, so what was that about? As far as when you're moving inmates from one place to another?
When you're moving inmates, when you're moving patrol cars, calls for service, or maybe there's a car that we haven't heard from, and we like to hear from our cars a minimum of every 30 minutes. If they're not answering the radio for whatever unknown reason, we know exactly where they are. We can send them for assistance. Same thing in a school. If we have an alert and somebody can't talk, but they've alerted us at 911, we can pinpoint where they are within feet. And that's the enhancement to the system. That's why that's really what it's all about. It gets us closer. This is the next gen technology. Right now we can get within, maybe 100 yards, sometimes 200 or 300 yards. Now we're going to get much closer.
So you're saying if I dial 911, you can know where I am?
Well, we should be able to do that anyway with you. If you dial 911 on your landline, it should come up your exact residence. If you dial 911 on your cell, yes, we should be able to come and be able to pinpoint where you are. Now, depending on your exact location, sometimes it may not hit a tower or triangulate right. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lee. So we may be off 100 yards or so, and we got to go hunting for you. But we want the next gen that will get us within feet.
Okay.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
One of the big things is also.
Is that you? I'm sorry. Sir, you want to comment?
Yes.
I'd like to recognize Paul when he gets finished.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, one of the big things too is if a teacher used it in the school, we would be able to pinpoint which building, which end of the building, which corridor, and which classroom that teacher is in inside the school. And that's one of the biggest selling points for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. It sounds great. Much of our discussion has been about schools. I assume, Craig, that this has a much broader application.
Extremely broader.
Yeah, could you kind of heighten that? I would hate, if you're doing something so broad, I would hate for it to be pinpointed that, sure, it will be a wonderful thing for the schools, but maybe you could talk about some of the other positive applications.
Well, again, all right, so Paul, a typical example, if I am traveling out of the area and I don't know, let's say I'm in Tennessee, and dispatch needs to get in touch with me for whatever communication, they can now get in touch with me because we also will be using the LTE system. Now, granted, I'm not going to be able to do anything from Tennessee, but many times we have people traveling outside of our communication area. Right now, we have an umbrella with our radio system that gets us Albany County, and maybe not much further than the fringe of it. Sometimes you can bleed over a little bit across the river because it's low landing right there with the river. But most part, it's just our county. Now, when our cars are out doing investigations in other areas, outlying areas, whatever, we have communication. And it's not just for us. We want to roll this out for all first responders, police, fire, EMS. We're just going to start now with the sheriffs. The school are very, very important to us, and we want to definitely expand the footprint that we started with them. We put panic buttons on buses and in classrooms, certain classrooms, high volume areas that others could get in touch with, not just a teacher. So this expands upon that. So yes, the school is just an added luxury, but this is more about public safety for our men and women.
Okay, but will all schools in the county will this be rolled out to them, or are we starting someplace,
not initially. What our goal was to get our schools that we have a current project going with, and then have others buy into it. And then actually we can even get into charging them down the road a small fee to utilize this system. So the schools is an added luxury. You're right. I don't want to, get tunnel vision on the schools and lose our primary focus for this is a public safety initiative.
And one last question. You said you were going to budget for it for next year. How are you going to pay for it this year?
We weren't going to. That's why that was kind of the necessity to come to you guys. This is something that we had been talking about, and Motorola reached out to Director Demarest and Chief Borman and said, hey, if you guys are serious and you want to move forward, we may be able to save you a boatload of money. Now, listen, I'm not foolish to think that they don't want to get this done so they can increase their third quarter. But, I really don't care if it's going to save us a boatload of money. So I'm sure they're trying to get their numbers up for the third quarter closing, and hopefully we save a lot of money in 2022.
Well, maybe this is a question more for Dave Riley. How are we going to pay for this, David?
Mr. Bergdorf, I actually have not had discussions with the sheriff yet on what funds we have available for that.
Sheriff, we have grant funding available.
Perfect.
Covered completely. Covered completely
SIG.
under grants.
That's the best answer
Okay,
possible.
we have the grants in-house. We've been approved.
That's even better.
Have they actually been through the legislature yet, Kev?
We're doing that actively right now. We were just awarded the grant. We were awarded SICG 2021 and 2022 combined. So that process is being done right now. The RLA has been submitted. I think it's going before October's ledge.
That's for October. Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
not-
so you're doing this
not
based
county care.
on the anticipation that you've been awarded these grants.
Correct. We haven't received them, but the RLAs are submitted.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Grimm?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I want to follow up on that. This is $1 million. The question is, where is it coming from? And how are we saving money if this is an unanticipated expense? That's why it's an Article 11. So we're spending $1 million, which we didn't anticipate spending. It's just, Sheriff, you feel like it's the broader deal is better if we get in now. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
I don't know how we're saving money necessarily if we're spending $1 million that we didn't anticipate.
Yeah, I won't dispute that. I think I mean, listen, Mark, I would have been able to probably pay for this all with grant funding in 2023 as well. But I think what this is doing by using the grant money in 2022, we're saving $700,000 of that grant, which will allow for other expenditures, personnel, whatever the case may be. That's what it's going to boil down to. It's not actually we're saving the county the money right now. It's just that the deal right now for us is that if we get in now, the equipment is much cheaper as opposed to spending probably all of that grant and then maybe some county share. I don't know what it'll be in January of 2023.
Yeah, so the long-term deal is better if you jump in now, and that's why you want to jump in now.
Yes.
And Dave Riley doesn't know where the money's coming from because you anticipate it being grant money. So it looks like we're going to get a better long-term deal, and we're going to have grant money to pay for it.
Yes, we will not be paying. Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, but we have 100% of the grant funding.
100% grant funded.
Okay. All right. Thanks for clarifying, all of you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right,
Dave,
thank you.
less blood pressure medicine for you tonight, Dave.
Yeah.
It's that time of year.
That was an interesting reaction, Commissioner.
Mr. Clay, and then after you, my deputy.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Right, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, I was just gonna make a motion to move this and then maybe ask Mr. Riley what blood pressure medication he's on and we can compare notes. So
I'll second that. Not about the blood pressure, though, just the motion.
Yeah, the
Right.
resolution, not the blood pressure.
There's meditation, there's, a Calm app he could be using, yeah.
Really doesn't work.
yeah,
I don't know if Mr. Clay is gone for good or not, okay? So I guess I'll count to 30. 30, okay. So Bill didn't.
One Mississippi, two
Hold on.
Mississippi, three Mississippi.
you're Jim.
Okay, all right, Bill, we're ready for your question.
Oh, okay. No, I just want, it's not a question, as opposed to, I'd like to congratulate the sheriff on his, and the sheriff and the department on his progressive moves. And I'm rather proud of them as chair of the Public Safety Committee. They really do us proud, and I'm proud of them. I read the article about when the chairman and whoever else went on the ride with the deputies. And they've told me it was the deputies conducted themselves in very, very professional. And so I'm kind of proud of the department. So Sheriff, thank you. And
Thank you.
Chief and whoever else is on the call. Thanks again.
Thank you. And listen, before you close us out anyway, two things. One, I would offer any of you a ride along to see what the men and women are doing down in the city or wherever. But they've been a great force down there to help combat the violence. And quite honestly, I think that a lot of the residents enjoy seeing the deputies down there. And with that said, I am going to need to talk to you folks at some point about budgeting next year for overtime. I don't know how long I can continue this, but I also don't know how I can remove my deputies from that. I mean, every night they're assisting APD. The other night I was out myself, the same night that Andrew was out. And, at 1 o'clock in the morning, things are relatively quiet. And all of a sudden we've got an individual shot and a house shot up with bullets. So, I really don't know what the answer is. I wish I had a magic wand, but at some point I'm going to have to, have some hard conversations as to, which way we want to go here with this.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clay, for your comments. And again, I think all of us would like to extend, our thoughts to you, Sheriff, and all that you do. Mr.
Thank
Peter?
you.
Yes, Madam Chair. I would still like to make a motion, although I don't want to increase the sheriff's ego, so I'll just leave it at that.
I'll second. Madam Chair, I'll second it.
Okay, I think Lynn beat you to it. I don't want her to beat me up. I give it to you. So I got a motion from Mr. Peter. I got a second from Ms. Lakakis and Mr. Bergdorf. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Sheriff, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Demarest. And I'm trying to see, where's the deputy? I can't,
Lee Borman.
Lee Gorman. Okay, thank you all very much for this evening.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Yep. Okay. All right. So I need a motion to adjourn. Is that correct?
Wait, I believe,
Not just yet. We have one more item, Madam Chairwoman.
good.
Oh, who's that for?
That is for Commissioner Riley.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Demarest. Okay, Mr. Riley, and you're going to read that. Isn't that right, Council? Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman. Item 2 is amending the 2022 Albany County budget, New York State Healthcare and Mental Hygiene Worker Bonus Program. And Commissioner Riley's here this evening.
So, Madam Chairwoman, this is a program that was stood up by New York State for recruitment and retention of mental health or health and mental health hygiene workers. They call it the Healthcare Worker Bonus Program. In the state budget, they allocated $1.2 billion to this. What it allows is there are vesting periods. And if a worker works a suitable number of hours in a designated job title doing specific job functions, and it's very technical about who can get it and who can't, then they're eligible for a $1,500 bonus. They're eligible for 2 of those for a total of $3,000 out of multiple vesting periods. The first application period was actually September 2nd. And there's a little wrinkle to this where we file, or we went out to the departments, had them determine eligibility, and then we filed, or had the departments file with the state, all workers they deemed eligible. The state is now going to vet all of those claims, the worker attestations, the hours worked, and determine if there's anybody who they feel does not qualify. They will then pay us for all people that they have approved, and we only have 30 days to push that money out to the employees. So normal legislative cycle wouldn't necessarily work so well in a 30-day. So I appreciate the fast tracking of this request. The lion's share of this, there's 236 total employees. I'd say 2/3 of it. I'm trying to tab between screens and I don't have it right in front of me. But yeah, about 2/3 of it, a little bit more than that, was the nursing home. Other affected departments in this budget amendment are mental health, and children, youth, and families.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. Before I ask a question, are there any questions or comments from the members?
Madam Chair.
Mr. Grimm?
All right, if I understand Commissioner Riley, we don't really have any control over this. This is a state law that is very clear about who gets the bonus pay. And we just we give them a list of eligible employees. Is that it?
So yeah, so we had the department heads submit the list of eligible employees as well as the relevant background or backup material to verify those claims. But yeah, this is a state program. They determine eligibility. They were the ones that set the criteria for this, and they ultimately will be the ones determining whether or not the employee gets paid. Our job as an employer is simply to facilitate as many employees as are eligible, so nobody's left out.
So it would be odd for us to turn down the money that the state's giving us. This is 100% state money.
Correct, 100% state.
The only issue I have is the mathematic issue. 236 are eligible. That's about 2,200 who are not in the county, who won't be getting the pay. So I'm not wild about the state dictating how we compensate our employees across the board. But I don't think it would make much sense to turn down 100% state grant about it.
No,
Right,
I have similar concerns, but I came to the same conclusion. Obviously, we have to do whatever we can to get the money to our workers.
Yeah, and if a county employee comes to me and say, what's going on? I'm saying this was state law and the eligibility was dictated by state law.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're very welcome, Deputy Peter.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I believe actually Mr. Grimm made most of my points and Mr. Riley answered that. And given that it's technically state money that we have no control over, we're just sort of allowing for it to happen. I'd make a motion to move this.
Okay, after my comments.
Of
Okay,
course.
so I just have a question. Now, you said this passed already?
The state included this in the budget. They only released the guidance on who was eligible, though it's been coming out over the past, I guess, month or two. But yeah, it was funded in the budget for 1.2 billion.
So you said that one of the vesting periods was 9/2?
Pat, actually, do you know the vesting periods off the top of your head?
Sure. So the first vesting period was October 2021 through March 2022. We're currently in the second vesting period. So that's April through the end of September. Then as soon as a vesting period ends, the employer has 30 days to kind of file and complete the claims on behalf of all eligible employees.
Did we file anybody for the first one?
That's the 236 that we filed or in the first vesting period.
For October?
Correct. Yeah, we got those in on September 2nd was the deadline.
Oh, okay. So I thought you said 10/21 through March, or you meant through the end of September of this year?
Yeah. So the second vesting period will end at the end of this month, at the end of September.
Right. The second one.
The first vesting period started last October
Yes.
2021, and then lasted through March. I
Okay.
guess they retroactively made legislation.
Put out the rules.
Okay, so we had 236 for the period ending 3/31/2022, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so for the period ending 9/30, do we have a number?
We won't calculate it until after the period's done, but I'm assuming it will be in a similar neighborhood.
Okay, all right, and they would receive, you said $1,500?
Yeah, each worker is eligible for $1,500 per vesting period, but for a maximum of $3,000 because there are multiple vesting periods. Once you get 2 pays, that's all you can get.
Okay. All right.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Bergdorf.
I had a conversation earlier today with Dave on this, and I think it's important that he put on the record that this is truly a bonus. It does not become a part of anyone's base pay, so it does not have,
It's not-
second year budget implications. It's 100% state dollars that can go to our frontline healthcare workers. That should not cost us more in year 2. Is that correct, Dave?
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Bergdorf, for bringing that back up from our earlier conversation. Yeah, this has no implications to their base pay for next year. It also has no implications to their retirement pay. Right? So there's no liability to us on this
Okay,
outside of some payroll taxes, which we'll then get reimbursed for.
okay. All right. Thank you very much for this. Anybody else? If not, I'll entertain Matt's motion and a second.
Second,
Who said second?
Mr. Green?
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Peter. I have a second from Mr. Grimm. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Robert.
Madam Chair, just for the record, I'd like Rebecca to hear this. None of the Rule 11s or the late starters appear on our Granicus. I hope that Brandon's absent. It would be so helpful to have everything updated as it's updated to the members so that the Granicus is really up to date, because I'm understanding that we have other Rule 11s that are not on our tablets as well, that are still being circulated manually.
Yep, absolutely. And they were put on to Granicus. They were uploaded to Granicus before 4 p.m. Someone in my office printed them off Granicus after that time. So we know they're on there. I'm not sure what the disconnect is, and that's where Brandon would have really come in useful. But we missed him in his absence, I assure you.
All right, can I? Okay,
Sorry, Rebecca, can you email them to us? I haven't gotten them.
Yes, I will.
Thank
I-
you.
Good idea.
I only have one. I didn't have the second one.
Same.
Okay, I'll email them to the entire legislature, and
Thank you.
that should make it easier for everyone.
Okay, so what I'll do, I'll close this meeting out now for an adjournment. If there are any more comments, I'd like to take them offline, if that's okay. All right, can I have an adjournment to close?
Motion, Madam Chair.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and I got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 See you in personnel.
Yes. All right,
See
so
you
if you have
very
any, all right, any other things, please see council